The Lifestyle Show, presented by Selina MacKenzie.
Now, in the book, Autism is My Friend, Anorexia is Not, Fee Emmerson courageously shares her poignant journey through the intersecting realms of autism and anorexia. She bravely joins us now. Welcome to the show, Fee.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, were you diagnosed with both at a similar time, or did one come before the other, or how did it work?
The anorexia was diagnosed years before the autism. So I was first diagnosed with anorexia in my early 20s. Autism wasn't recognised until I turned 40.
And do you think there's a connection between the two?
There's definitely a connection between the two. I think certainly for myself, and I know it's for a lot of people as well, there's definitely an impact on food and eating for people who are autistic.
Wow, didn't know that.
Yeah, so for myself, there's a lot around routine. So I have to eat at certain times. If I miss that time, then I'm more likely to just skip the meal than just eat it later. But it's also around like the foods that I eat. So if I'm really overwhelmed or stressed, I need that really kind of bland sensory, low sensory input foods. So I'm far more likely to eat things that are bland, that are maybe sweet more than savoury at that point actually as well, and that are easy to eat, so that are soft, that don't require much chewing. And yeah, it has a massive impact on kind of what and when I eat.
And do you think if you'd have been diagnosed earlier with autism, it might have stopped the anorexia, or at least you'd have been able to understand it more?
I think it would have made a big difference to understanding it. There's certainly times since I've recovered from the anorexia that I think if I'd not understood the autism, I would have slipped back into it.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's a case of, I understand kind of why what I'm eating has changed, and can recognise that I need to eat the things that are easy for me to manage at those times, and I'll get back to eating normally. Yeah. Whereas before I'd have just stopped eating and it would have kind of spiraled from there down into the anorexia relapse and getting really unwell again.
Well, this is your story. It's a great title because it explains everything. And although you said you were diagnosed with autism in your 40s and anorexia in your early 20s, I've got down here that you struggled at secondary school. You were in the Lake District, I believe.
I was, yeah. I grew up in the Lake District. I think having that understanding now that I'm autistic makes so much from school days and things make sense, because I always felt really socially awkward. I've always been one that I get on really well with one person at a time. Put me in a group of people and I just go silent. And then kind of the dining hall at school was an absolute nightmare, because not only have you got the noise of kind of trays and cutlery and everyone eating, you've got the bright lights above, you've got all the different smells of the different foods that are prepared and served in the dining room. So even though I took a packed lunch, I was bombarded by so much other sensory input at that point. I just couldn't deal with it. And I did everything I could to avoid going near the dining room.
It's a shame, isn't it, that nobody picked that up, either somebody, a teacher at school or somebody would pick that up, that's the problem. Or maybe you kept it to yourself, or maybe you didn't understand yourself what was happening.
I certainly didn't understand. And I think at that point as well, because we're talking like 20 odd years ago, or more than that, autism wasn't really recognised much in females at that point.
Yeah.
So
was it in males then? Was it recognised in males?
It was much more recognised in males. So even now, the diagnostic criteria are based on the male presentation of autism.
Wow.
But it's being recognised much more in the last few years in women as well.
Quite right too.
Yeah.
So you managed to get through that, and then you went to university, and I've got hospitalisation here. Is that when the anorexia started?
So the anorexia was well, there were signs of it, but it showed itself properly. So after I'd finished uni, I did a gap year in France, and then I got a job down in the south of England, and moved into a house share. And I think starting a new job, living with people I didn't know in an area where I didn't know anyone, everything kind of crashed in on me at that point. And that's when it properly took hold of me. And yeah, I think I started the job in the September. By April, I was in hospital.
Blimey, it must have been so tough for you. I can't imagine.
It was certainly a difficult time.
And I've got down here as well, the book explains the transformative power of relationships. What's that mean?
So the first time I properly recovered, it was when I met the man I then married. We are actually divorced now, but the book goes into that later. But at that point, kind of entering into a loving relationship made a huge, huge difference to me in terms of being able to feel loved, feel accepted. Because I think because of that social awkwardness of the autism, whatever, I'd never felt accepted around people. And I think having that at that point made a massive difference. And I actually stayed well for the pretty much 10 years that we were together. But also in more recent years, the friendships that I've made through my children's friends' parents. So when my kids started school, and the friendships I made with people then, we formed some absolutely amazing relationships. And those people have stood by me through many years of turmoil and being in and out of hospital. And they've just been the most fantastic friendships. And the interesting thing is we've actually discovered the people I made friends with at that point have also discovered that they're neurodivergent as well.
Yeah, that often happens, doesn't it? I think,
Yeah.
I know so many people now that have just been diagnosed with ADHD, and I think people just didn't realise before, and it's good that we're creating awareness.
Yeah.
And the other thing I think is like you say, a neurodivergence or on the spectrum, there are varying degrees. And I think that everybody has to have the treatment tailor-made to them, don't they? It's not just a one fits all.
Very much. Certainly the last round of treatment that I had that helped me get to that place of proper, I'd say true recovery, I'd searched for someone who could offer treatment specialised for autism. And I ended up working with a dietitian for almost 2 years. It was all online. But it was so personalised to me at that point. And I think whereas previously treatment had always been pushed to doing everything all at once and eating properly all the time right from the start and whatever. And I couldn't sustain that. The work I did at this point was very much taking it at my pace, taking things slowly, making very small changes at a time, but in a way that I could see them as challenges to do. And I was like, I managed to do that one. Let's do it again. And it really was that personalised treatment, small and steady changes. Obviously, it went up and down along the way, but over that 2-year period, it got me to the point of being properly stable.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's no point overloading yourself with too many goals, is there?
Not at all.
Oh, bless you. And how are you now?
I'm really good. I'm actually now working as a peer support worker in my local adult eating disorders service.
So you're giving back.
Yeah, it's coming alongside people who are going through the journey I've been along and helping them and showing them that there is hope. and kind of inspiring them towards recovery.
I think that's got to help. I think knowing that somebody's been through it instead of just somebody who it may be qualified but is just sort of spouting, whereas you can really have empathy because you've been through it yourself.
Yeah, I think the conversations you have with people open up in a different way when they know that you understand and you've been there.
Yeah, well done you. And I think the book is going to help people as well.
I hope so.
Well, I'll give all our listeners the title so they can rush out and buy it. It's called Autism as My Friend, Anorexia is Not, and it's by Fee Emmerson, who we're chatting to now. Fee, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas and a happy 2025.
Thank you very much.
My
and
pleasure.
You.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.